Hi, thank you for joining me for day 9 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life. And today's sketch has been provided by Jessica Fenhill. I'll leave any details that I have of her below in the description box, along with the playlist of everybody else who's playing along so that you can see their videos and give them some love. Today I am scrapbooking again our trip to Boston back in 2015 and the surrounding areas. This is once again the houses in Sandwich, the little town that we stopped in on the way down Cape Cod. So the sketch has 3 photos on it. So I've cut my photos down to 3 by 3 and I'm just matting those onto some scrap white cardstock. Again, this is just cardstock that I've got left over from previous projects on my silhouette cutting machine. And I'm using 49 and Market Spectrum Sherbet. I just thought these papers would go really nicely with these photos from November. So I've taken the background paper with the circle, and that's providing my main source of mixed media, which I love to have on my background. And now I'm going through the 6 by 8 paper pad or paper collections and just choosing a few different papers to mat these photos onto. So first of all, I've chosen this lovely orange one with the tickets, and then there's the same paper which is more sort of reds and pinks that I'll use to add some mats as well. So just working out which way to have this. I have my photo upside down, so it wasn't a very good start, but I get there in the end. I think sometimes you get lost in looking at what's on the background page and don't realise that the photo's upside down. So again, you can see I'm using my Sticks 2 tape runner. I'm really enjoying using this again to get everything stuck down. It's very quick and easy. And just adding a little piece there at the bottom to fill in that gap. Because this paper's all different tickets and things, you don't really notice that it's a separate piece. So this is the pink and red piece that I was talking about, so just creating a mat with that as well and slowly building up these layers. And these photos, again, it's like the layout that I did yesterday. If you watch that video, they're fairly nondescript. They're just pictures of a couple of the houses in Sandwich and also the yarn store that we stumbled upon. And they're very dark and very gloomy. I don't know, I think it was a gloomy day, but I think part of that is I had my photos developed at Snapfish and they do seem a lot darker than they are on my phone, so I perhaps should have reprinted them myself, but I hate waste. They were printed, so it's fine. You can still see what they are. But these papers definitely add a little bit of brightness to those dull photos, and I could probably have chosen any colours to go with them, but you can see, because it's November, you can see all the leaves in front of the houses and on the lawns, and they're all beautiful oranges and yellows and reds. So I thought this collection would go nicely, and I am going to bring in the rub-ons, the leaf rub-ons from that collection to add to the layout as well. I do love Spectrum Sherbet, it really is beautiful colours. So just trimming off the branding strip there at the bottom, and then I can start to embellish around these photos. So I'm going to mat them up onto some Sticks 2 25mm foam pads just to raise them off the background paper, and then I can tuck all my embellishments in and around. And on Jessica's sketch, you'll see in the top right hand corner there, she does have embellishment clusters top left and bottom right. It looks like she's got a border going around her page as well, which I've chosen not to do, but I will make sure that I've got those clusters top left and bottom right, and I will be doing those with those rub-ons that I mentioned. So first of all, bringing in some of the brown 49 Market tickets. These are the ticket essentials. My lovely friend Julie let me have some of her brown ones because it's not a colour that I had. And then adding some reds as well, just to bring a bit more of that autumnal red in to these photos. So just working out the layers, seeing how it all goes together, and then sticking that down. And you'll see that thin piece that I've got there that's jutting out to the right is the arrows ticket. That's my absolute favourite ticket in these ticket essentials from 49 Market. So now that cluster's glued down, I can continue adding other bits. I decide I want another red ticket down there, so I'm just using the reverse of that to bring in a different tone of red. And then the other one that I had left over from that piece, I'm going to add to that top left-hand cluster. Again with the brown ticket. Just mirroring what I've done on that right-hand side, as I so often do. So now I'm bringing in some of the JD3DPrint mini chevrons. I love these. Use them on a lot of layouts. You will have seen me using them before. Just making sure they're straight. And then going into the bits that I have left from the Spectrum Sherbet ephemera and laser cut pieces. So first of all, bringing in this yellow just to brighten everything up a little bit. So adding one of the tickets there to that left-hand cluster, and then of course bringing the other one into the right-hand side. Again, creating balance. And it looks a bit odd at the moment because where the below that left-hand photo there, I am going to be adding the journaling, which is what Jessica's put in her sketch as well. So a chipboard piece there. And then this lovely mandala wood button that we sell at Hey Little Magpie in our Bits and Pieces range. So just tying in some wax twine in peach and tying it into a bow just to add a bit of interest there. And that will go down in that cluster on top of those tickets. So this was a label that I had in my box of ephemera. It had been cut off to use on a previous layout, so just adding that into that cluster again, just to bring something else in. And I'm going back to the tickets, and I'm pulling out one of the stamps from the red collection and adding that to that top left-hand cluster. So now here are the rub-ons, and I do add quite a few of these to the top left, bottom right. So focusing first of all on the yellowy browns. And I couldn't find the stick. I think it must have fallen out somewhere in my box with all my Spectrum Sherbet in. So I'm just using the blade sheath from my cutter bee scissors to rub it down. So it just shows anything works, anything that's got a flat edge that you can use. So I'm just cutting off the rub-ons as I go. I know that Katie Petite, who designs for 49er Market, rubs straight onto her projects from the full sheet, but I'm not quite brave enough to do that. So I'm just snipping them off the sheets and adding them as I go. So as you can see, just building things up slowly and surely, bringing in these individual leaves to fill in gaps. And once that one's down, you wouldn't know that that wasn't part of that branch. They're so good. I do love their rub-ons. And then just adding a few more to look as if they're floating in the air. Really building that up. And I do bring these quite a long way across that top. I love all the different colours that we've got in these. And that one I'm just layering over. It just brings in a different dimension. And there are so many on each of the sheets. You can see I'm just focusing in on one sheet, but it looks like I barely touched it. So don't be afraid to use what you've got. I think sometimes I am. I think, oh gosh, no, I can't use too much because they cost a lot of money, but they do go a long, long way. So use them. This is your permission to use what you've got. So now focusing in on that bottom right hand cluster, and again just adding a load of rub-ons. Just going through, and I'm pulling out more red and yellow in this cluster. Just adding bits and pieces, trimming them off the sheet and adding them down there. Almost there now. Just wanted to fill that little gap in the top left hand corner, so adding a red one there. And now coming in with my journaling. And I've left this in to show you. I drew my lines and I started to write my journaling, but because of all the mixed media in the background, it was just fading into the background and you couldn't really read it very clearly. So I decided to tear off a piece of the paper from the 6x8 paper pad. And this is much clearer than the background on this paper. And I more or less match up the circle on that pink piece to the orange circle that's already pre-existing on the page, and I add my journaling there, and it's much clearer because, as you can see, that is much brighter with less mixed media on. So again, coming in with my T-square ruler to add my guidelines for my journaling, and then I'll add my journaling there, and then I'm going to add some embellishments and pieces around that paper just to hide the seams so that it looks a lot more seamless and not like I've just added a ripped piece of paper in to put my journaling on. This is a great way as well of hiding if you go wrong with your journaling when you're writing. You can just use a scrap of paper and then hide it like this. So I've added those brown tickets along the right hand side of the paper just to hide that seam with a little stamp at the bottom. Adding some more rub-ons. I just felt it needed a little bit more at the bottom here. And then I'll go back to that cluster in a minute. So first of all, I think I'm going to stamp along the bottom with one of the stitched stamps from Tim Holtz. So I add that with my black archival ink along the bottom here. And I do like the look of it, but I just feel it's still very empty and I want something else. So then I find one of the JD3DPrint wood titles that says memory, and I add that. First of all, I'm going to add some black around the page using my We Are Memory Keepers hole reinforced punch, which if you've watched me before you will have seen me use plenty of times. Just adding a few bits around. I also use the dots from inside the circles today to add around. So just dotting those about the page. I do add one more. Just to the top right. I felt like it was a bit bare there, so above that yellow ticket just there. And I love how bringing that black around the page really makes everything else pop. It's amazing what a bit of black can do, really. So here's that wood title that I was talking about. It just says memory. And then adding my date onto that chipboard tag there. And some of these beautiful embroidered flowers from our bits and pieces at Hey Little Magpie. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me for day 9. I shall see you again tomorrow for day 10. Thanks again. Bye.